Good morning.
Hello.
Welcome to Casual Friday, the WildStar stream. We're going to be playing some PvP today. I am TimeTravel, Brett Scheinert. This is Steven Engle, Meerkat.
I am Meerkat. Yeah.
And we're not your usual hosts, so we're going to be causing all sorts of problems. It's going to be great.
I don't know what we're going to do yet.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, other than play PvP and go over some things, like Dee and I have kind of a like, we have a thing, you know, when I'm on stream.
A working
you do
relationship.
too.
We just yell at each other.
Yeah, we just kind of yell at each other. I mean, I don't know if is Micah going to be around occasionally too? Like, I don't know.
I don't know. We need someone to actually know the answers to any of the questions that come up in chat. While we're going,
Right.
I will be pulling a few answers or questions from chat. I'm going to skip ones that we don't really know the answer to. So everyone asking questions about like housing stuff and like upcoming character model changes and stuff like that. We don't know. Those aren't the things we work on. I am the multiplayer systems lead, so my teams work on the adventures and dungeons and raids and all that stuff.
And I'm combat and rewards. So.
Yep. So before we get started, let's kick some stuff off. Steven is going to be playing some open/practice 3v3 arenas on NA servers. So if you're 50, you want to jump in and queue up. You don't need a group or anything like that. We'll hopefully get some queues and you guys can beat the crap out of him.
Now mind you, I've been playing my Stalker and Spellslinger alts more. I'm going to be playing my Engineer today. I'm not completely ruined out. So this should be fun. And I apologize to anyone that gets on my team, like in advance. And I'm going to take a drink.
All right, so some other fun things to announce. As of turned on like less than an hour ago, there's a double prestige event this weekend. So get out there, do some PvP, get a bunch of bonus rewards. And that coincides with the fact that Season 2 just began this week for PvP. We have a bunch of new rewards. We'll go over those in a while. And the arena season rankings and stuff are going to be coming up very soon.
Right now, I'm in second.
That's true. Pappy's in first.
Right now, Pappy is in first.
So, to go with the double prestige weekend, there's actually some new stuff on the store. We'd like to show you real fast. That's pretty cool.
Oh, there we are.
There we go.
Now we're here.
So this one, the Flask of Riches. This gives you bonus currency, renown, and prestige gain. That item is actually discounted this
15%
weekend.
off.
Yep. There is a floral equivar.
And which I am actually currently using as my mount, and we'll see it after we go through the rest.
So you can say that is your My Little Equivar.
My Equivar, my Equivar.
So
Anyway,
the flask discount, this mount, and this one on the far left, the Strange Snarflings, which is truly amazing and horrifying if you see it in game.
it's
you guys should
truly
check it out.
outrageous.
Yes.
Truly outrageous.
These are limited time offers. They're not going to be up on the store forever. They will last until November 17th, which is next Tuesday. So,
Yeah. So before you go to sleep, Monday night, make sure you buy it.
yeah, make sure to pick these up. And the last one is also something we said that was coming back. That's pretty exciting. We just re-enabled the Realm Transfer tokens. That way, folks that... So, between the PvE servers, the -1 and the -2, so like Entity 1 and Entity 2, there are still free realm transfers between those two. However, the transfer tokens are now available for anyone that wants to transfer between the PvE and PvP realms or vice versa.
And I'll show you the Equivar mount in a sec, but we also have the Power Prestige and PvP weekend.
Yes, that's what we mentioned earlier. So you'll be getting double prestige all weekend. So participating in Season 2 gives you even more rewards.
Woo! Now, as you can see, I'm here. And...
Well, no, hold on. You have to run with it because the trail, at least behind, is pretty amazing.
Little bubbles.
Little sparkles.
Whee! Whee! Okay. Let's go get I'll get the Strange Snarflings out. It's kind of gross getting eaten up by that, but here we go. It's all the cool stuff you enjoy with the Snarflinks, with a pretty rad color scheme and eyeballs and all the cool stuff you expect on a strain. Oh wow, I got some strain buddies here.
Apparently somebody else found the store before we announced it in the stream.
Apparently. All right.
All right, so you want to go ahead and get queued up?
I am going to go ahead and get queued up.
So this update we called, while he's doing that, Enter the Cryoplex. Season 2 began with part of this. So if anyone's queuing up against them, now's the time to go. The part of what came with this, and the reason why we're doing 3v3s, is there is a new arena map called the Cryoplex.
Yeah. I believe if you were to find the origin of the name, cryo means tundra and plex means dome. I could be wrong. We'll have to talk to Pappy about that.
It seems accurate. So this is a new map. Hopefully we'll have a match. When you queue into 3v3s or 5v5s, you can get either the Slaughter Dome or Cryoplex. It's kind of random as to which one comes up. So hopefully we'll have it pop up at some point while we're doing matches. It is a frozen tundra that is basically some of the unique ways we did it. We wanted a new map so the players had a lot more variety when they were doing the 3v3s and stuff for the arena season. But also this one actually has 2 levels to it. So when you go in, there's a upper floor that's sort of Elden E-Tech or whatever, that's flat, has a couple pillars, but then also has holes in the ground. And then there's also a second level down below it that has pillars and stuff like
pillars, that. There's like a little pathway that you can kind of lose people in.
Yeah, and
goes around, and you've got stairs to come back up.
And so we really liked that there was sort of gameplay as to when you go up or fall down and stuff like that. And if you guys actually check out on the PvP forums, several of our players have started posting videos of playing through and playing on Cryoplex and some of the other maps and stuff that they've been doing. It looks pretty exciting.
I'm just gonna show off my mount to everybody. Where's this guy going? Yeah, I'm following you, buddy. Oh man, I don't want to go to Blight Haven. So while we wait for queues, do you want to talk a little bit about some of the upcoming PvP rewards?
All right, so the rewards we have, there are a bunch of, we cannot do PvP. There are a bunch of rewards that came along with Season 2. So one of the things we did is we added cosmetic gear that is rating gated to 3v3 arenas. So basically, that gear, you don't have to wait till the end of the season, but it is, you can actually look at it on the vendor. You start getting it.
I can't I? There's a seasonal vendor.
Basically, as your rating goes up, you get access to this cosmetic gear that is themed for your class and your faction.
All this stuff.
Yes. And it is pretty sweet looking. And so it requires higher ratings for the nicer pieces like chests and shoulders and heads and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But as your rating goes up and you participate, you get access to this gear and you can add your character. It does not have stats on it. It's purely cosmetic. We didn't want the rewards for doing this to have power.
Yeah, we didn't want the rich to get richer. Like, we already know that you're good at arenas.
If you can
show that off, but we don't want you to have an advantage.
Yeah, and so that's why that was done that way. Additionally, the end of season rewards for Season 2 are going to be a lot more significant than they were for Season 1.5 or Season 1. We have titles, we have a pet, there is a custom mount that you're going to be getting.
The mount is pretty awesome.
The mount is pretty rad. We'll get a picture of that eventually and put it on the forums or something like that. You'll also be getting a custom appearance for the Season 2 cosmetic weapons. So one of the things that's not on there's actually a change we made based on y'all's feedback, so thank you. There are unique weapons associated with the Season 2 cosmetic gear that Art created for us, because Art is amazing. We will be adding flags in the middle of everyone's banners.
Hey, I turned to look at you and I was like,
We'll be adding
Here's
those
a
weapons.
flag.
We'll be adding those weapons onto the season 2 gear. They will not be at an additional higher rating or anything. We'll probably take the existing ratings and kind of squish them a little bit closer together. But those weapons will be available to anyone that gets the appropriate rating in the arenas. And then the end of season rewards will be a unique color variant of each of those weapons that we'll give out to the top 5 teams. And so that should be pretty sweet. So there's a bunch of really cool stuff you can get by participating in season 2. If you check out the article we put out, it has a lot of those details in it. And once we get closer and as we move on, like we'll obviously, as with anything, especially PvP related, we'll be paying attention to it and we'll adjust things that they need to be adjusted. And then we'll announce like when the season's going to end and stuff like that in the future.
Today's Friday the 13th, right?
Today is Friday the 13th.
It's bad. So what we need now is some of the arena people that I know love me to queue up and kill me repeatedly.
That's true. I've seen a couple people in chat say that they're queued up.
All right.
The queues, I've seen the question come up in chat a couple times actually. It is practice arenas, not rated arenas. I know most people are doing rated arenas because season 2 started.
Yeah.
But
I apologize. I didn't want to wreck
ruin their ratings.
Wreck someone's ratings. Either positive or negative wrecking, I guess, at that point. I'd rather not affect it on the live stream, so that's what I'm doing. So we just come up here to practice arenas and queue.
Oh.
Do you want to answer questions?
Yeah. I've been writing down a couple. One sec. Die rewards. I don't know on that one. Someone asked if we can get more die rewards from challenges. That is neither of our teams.
Well, no.
So I'm not sure.
Challenges, like the rewards for challenges are done by my team, but as for getting die rewards, that's something that we'd have to go through art and try to see if we...
I don't think there's any plans to change that stuff right now, but we can look at it.
Not in the immediate future.
So all this stuff is limited until 11/17, the new stuff, as we mentioned. Another question came up is some of the changes that went out with the Enter the Cryoplex patch is that some of the Season 1 PvP gadgets disappeared. Are those going to be coming back or changing or what?
So our intention is to be able to bring those back as Season 2. One of the big things that we did with the free-to-play conversion is make everything scalable off of item budget, so it scales with the item level at a much more controlled rate. So our goal is to bring back Season 2, basically make Season 2 versions of all of those gadgets and add new gadgets in. Someone declined. Yeah, our goal is to bring those back. We're gonna bring in some new stuff too in the mix, and then people will be able to get the Season 2 versions at the correct eye level and all that.
Okay, cool. And that should definitely be helpful. And that'll be in a patch that's pretty soon-ish.
It's pretty soon, yeah.
Soon TM.
Yeah, as soon as I can promise it.
Yes. Okay, so someone's asking about Battleground rating. So Battleground rating effectively doesn't really exist anymore. We don't have the concept of practice and rated Battlegrounds. When you do any PvP, of which Battlegrounds is one, war plots and arenas and stuff also count, it adjusts your personal rating. When you do arenas, it also adjusts your team rating, but that's a separate thing. So when you win and lose, your personal rating goes up or down. And that is not used for rewards. However, we do use your personal rating in order to determine matchmaking. So over time, if you continue to win, your personal rating will get higher and higher, and you'll be more likely to get matched against other people that are also winning very frequently. One of the other questions was actually something that came up on the forums. There is a bug right now with the the ratings for arenas. If you right now from 0 to 800, there's a floor at 800 rating. So if you get to 800, this is for team rating in arenas. You can't go below 800 anymore. That way, over time, we kind of intended if people like keep working at it and keep getting better and better, their team will eventually reach 800 rating. Once you get there, and then you should then continue to compete to go up and down, but you can begin winning, both gaining and losing rating. However, right now there's a bug that while below 800 rating, you can actually lose rating on a loss. And so that is something we will be changing here in the next patch, probably along with the gadgets. So that from 0 to 800, you will no longer lose rating if you lose a match.
So I'm gonna do my wave. That'll be the last time you see it.
See what?
My wave. They're gonna hate me after this.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Here we go.
So this arena, if anyone hasn't seen it before, is Slaughter-Dome. It's 3v3. Looks like Steven's team is Slinger, Engineer, Warrior. It's a pretty good combination, actually.
Oh, here we go.
Medic, Slinger, Stalker. At least the Stalker knows who to focus.
Yep. Did you just like to get wrecked? Like softly? Yeah, softly get wrecked. Alright.
We should add that as VO to arenas. Every time you die, the game just like quietly whispers like, get wrecked. Question from chat, will we be getting an equipment swap system so I can go from PvE to PvP? Something like that is definitely on a long-term wish list, because it would be helpful, but there are no plans. It won't be happening in the short term. There's concerns with that as far as like how much data we're storing per character and stuff like that, so we have to be really careful anytime we add additional things to each character record that have to be stored in the database, because those are for every single character and every single ball from the entire game. But something like that is definitely something we'd like to have.
I feel like they're targeting me.
As they should be. Yeah, they can smell the fear. Another question from chat. Leaderboards are also something that we would definitely like to do. Hopefully we can get them online at some point during Season 2, but we don't have a specific ETA for them. But we have talked about them with both engineering and UI. To at least try and get a base level version of them. Because right now, each week, I have a forum post to... I shouldn't have told him you weren't fully ruined yet. Now he knows you're weak.
Yeah.
A forum post to list all the top arena teams in both EU and NA. And that's definitely a placeholder solution for that until we can get the full leaderboards online. It's actually pretty close. Both teams are down to 0 respawns. Is their team dead though, so they don't have all 3? Is it just the Stalker? No, there's a Stalker.
That revenge kill though.
Oh, that's Colden. I saw you in chat.
Where are you going, my lovely? All right. Get them, Guy. I'll just do this.
Electrocute. Victory?
Yeah!
Victory!
I cannot be stopped.
Me down.
Yeah, they totally like destroyed me and everything. Good job, team. Way to carry me. It's exactly what I said in Twitter. I'm just going to be the bait. I'm going to be the bait, and I'm just going to let everyone else kill people around me.
Well, now that way everyone will know who's going to be getting attacked.
That's true. Let's see here. Let's see if we can get a Cryoplex to go.
Oh, that's an important question from chat, actually. Was Pappy on your team to carry you that time? Thank you, Druid's Fire.
Oh, wow. Why do... You know, my coworkers make fun of me, the press makes fun of me, players make fun of me. I think my mom even makes fun of me for that. Like it's that bad.
Everyone's
Everyone's
just piling on.
That's true.
Obama's gonna have to pardon you before he leaves office.
He might be the only one sympathetic to my plight.
PV McPeverson, one question: when will the new store mounts go off of the store? They will be leaving the store on 11/17, which is next Tuesday. So you basically have this weekend. All of this is sort of an event that kind of goes together. We have the 2 mounts, the Flask of Riches discount, and then this weekend is also double prestige weekend. So get out there and do PvP and get bonus rolls. And all that stuff.
I got the same teammates. I
think they're stalking you. Tell the Slinger to heal. He's slacking. So this is actually the new arena. Once it gets started, this is Cryoplex.
There we go. Now I look creepy. I'm a creepy pinch.
We actually made a bunch of changes to it once we put it up on PTR based on the feedback from the players. So thank you guys for giving it a try and talking about it. The previous version was actually significantly larger, and so some of the changes we made is you can see that it's much more compact now. You can kind of see the walls along the outside of Steven's screen, and that way it really focuses the combat and everything that's going on here in this central area with the 2 levels and everything, because that's what it was built around. And so you can kind of see there's this flat upper area that has the pillars in the middle. Those will block line of sight. So there's a bunch of stuff teams can do to kind of work together to fight people. You can try and like knock people into those holes. You can get wrecked.
I can get wrecked apparently.
Like I've also seen several teams use them of like if they start to fall behind or they don't want to get focused or something like that, they'll kind of all drop through the holes as the team so that they can kind of like get some quick separation and try and just like get a chance to sort of reset and avoid the burst from the other team or something like that. So there's a lot of gameplay to it. Soul and Rail. I am not sure if the mounts will be coming back to the store, so no promises. Maybe someday.
Nobody dropped down. Okay, good. Now we got one down.
I would say this is probably not the last time you will ever see them, but there is no ETA as to when they will be returning, so you gotta be careful. You don't miss your chance. Oh, the fat finger and the buttons.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with I should have actually set up proper keybinds because I keep doing that stuff. Oh well.
Lady Analloy, the reason we don't usually do EU when we do these sorts of playtests and stuff on the casual Fridays is the connections from here to there, especially from the office, are not the best. That's why we actually have the community team and the game managers and stuff. We actually have a specific EU team that does that for that, because our connections, you guys are really far away. It's hard for us to play. One down, but you guys are kind of far behind.
Yeah, we're super far behind.
That is the role of stalkers. Someone is low and walking forward, and these stalkers are problem solved. That is actually an ability that changed with Reloaded that I really liked. Was Energy Auger for engineers. The new version of it's really, really fun.
Yeah, it's super fun. Obviously, it didn't help me as much as I had hoped on that fight.
The battle has been lost.
The question from chat about Battleground rewards. We'll always be looking to update and keep improving the rewards and stuff that you get from PvP. The competitive stuff, we really wanted to focus it specifically on 3v3 arenas. They're a little bit more balanced than 2v2s and 5v5s, which can kind of lead to
super polarized kind of play.
Yeah. And so that's not to say Battlegrounds won't be getting rewards. We will try and be updating them to fix them up. I know Hildigan is looking at Halls of the Bloodsworn to try and find some ways to improve that and kind of avoid some of the negative gameplay that can happen there for teams that are imbalanced.
Yep.
Yeah. So the rewards were focused specific on 3v3s because we really wanted to try and channel people into doing specific activities, and then as those things kind of get going, we might look at doing other stuff as we go. It's going to be, it's always going to be an ongoing thing, kind of like class balance, which is never done.
Wait.
Are you happy with how Engineer DPS plays at the moment in high-end PvE? Wrong topic.
What?
I think the DPS is pretty good.
I actually like the way that, I mean, originally designing the Engineer, from the start, when I first started here at Carbine,
Yeah.
I'm a little bit of a homer when it comes to Engineer. Like I enjoy like the Engineer DPS at endgame. They were a little too high. We brought them down a little bit with some of the changes, and I think we're getting them close to where they need to be.
Yeah.
All the classes are actually pretty close to where they need to be, as far as DPS goes. Do you have any more questions?
Oh.
I think the people that I kept getting queued with were like, "This guy's terrible. Stop.
I don't want to be on his team anymore."
Stop. Make the hurting stop."
So if anyone else is around, we are on the NA servers. Queues are all cross-realm, so whether you're on Entity, Entity 2, or Warhound.
So you just press N, go to PvP Season 2, click on Arenas, go to Practice Arena 3v3, and then queue. You don't have to queue as a group, you can queue as solo. Actually, I prefer if you queue as solo, just because it might give me a chance. I swear, if Pappy shows up in one of these queues, I'm gonna be mad. I'm gonna wreck him. You watch.
Oh, we should go tell him. I can get somebody in chat to go tell him. Queue up. I know he has a 50 exile. I've seen him doing ship hands with people. Expeditions, sorry.
Expeditions.
So the Liam is asking, this is actually a Datascape question. Are the old 120 eye level 120 weapons being added to Avitus's loot table, but are no longer obtainable through pair challenges? Yes, that should already actually be live. Steven's team made that change.
Added to Avitus's loot table, so now there are two different versions of weapons for each.
So there's more weapons on his loot table. That way, those weapons for a little bit were kind of in a legacy state, where if you had them, you had access to them and you could use them. And then the new weapons had slightly different stats. So we just added those to Avitus's loot table. That way, he's still the only source of those really good eye level 120.
Which is where we want it to be.
Yeah. So there have been a couple questions. Has there been any thought about adding tutorials for Battlegrounds? I see a lot of people who are new and don't really seem to understand the goals of Waltiki and Halls. That's actually a good suggestion. That's something we'll look at. There's been several other questions along those lines with balance stuff in like Battlegrounds and the way queues work. That is actually something we're actively looking at. We really want to see if there are ways we can have improvements to the way both queues happen for Battlegrounds and then also for veteran dungeons and stuff like that. Some of the changes my team's been working on for Veteran Dungeons that I posted about in the forums is actually that when you hit level 50, we don't do a good enough job at the moment of vectoring players into the content that is appropriate for their gear. So we're going to be adding a quest line. So once you hit 50, this is on the PvE side, that kind of says like, oh hey, like you should go try one of these daily quest zones, like Crimson Badlands or Northern Wastes or Starcon Basin. And then once you do that, it kind of says, oh hey, you should go do a Veteran Expedition and go do one of those. And then it says go do an adventure and then go do dungeons. And that way we can kind of explain the process as players go through it of like, hey, there's all this content we have available. This is kind of the order as far as eye level goes that we kind of expect you to go through it. And that should help kind of explain to players like all the content that's there in a cleaner way, but also kind of what order might be best for them to do it in.
Yeah, so you know, I make a fresh 50, get to 50, and I'm not just queuing to Veteran Dungeons because that seems like a logical path for me.
Well, part of what would happen is you would get the quest to get the Genesis Key and both another quest for Ultimate Proto Games, and those are things you can only do at 50, but at the same time, like, we weren't doing a better job of saying like, hey, do all this other content before you work on these two things, because both of those things are pretty challenging, especially since the Genesis Key's been updated, and the first step of the Genesis Key is no longer a bunch of, it no longer has the rep or the solo quests or anything like that to work on. It just says like, hey, do the Veteran Dungeons. So that's something we're gonna improve. We're also looking at adding rewards for a group that completes a Veteran Adventure or a Veteran Dungeon if someone in your group is basically a new player. So if they've never completed the instance you're doing, so Steven's never done Storm Talon, he has, but for this example, we carried him through.
Oh, wow.
Say he's never done Storm Talon and he's in a group with some of us, then when we complete that instance, the entire group will actually get a very sizable bonus to the XP and gold and stuff like that. That way there's actually a reward for players when they're going through and doing content with new players, because that can take a little bit longer, and like it encourages players to take the time to actually sit there and kind of explain that content to the players and kind of say like, here's how these encounters work, here's how this instance works. Like in Storm Talon, it might be explaining how like the best way to avoid the wisps on Invoker. In the adventures, it might be kind of saying like, okay, you know, this is Malgrave Trail, this is the kind of stuff we need to do to keep the caravan alive and do all of that stuff. And I think, oh, someone dropped the queue?
Yeah.
We're a bunch of jerks.
Yo.
So, and hopefully that will help improve like players' willingness and excitement to have a new player in the group, because then you get a bunch of rewards. It's not additional items, but it's going to be a bunch of different additional currency and XP and stuff that you get from that instance. The artifact drop change from EberTB. Basically, for the artifact weapons, Avitus has a flat drop rate. Every challenge you complete in this encounter, of which there are 5, increases that drop rate by a small percent. So, doing 5 challenge Avitus gives you the best chance, but it is not a guarantee, and the overall sum chance is still relatively low. So you're not going to see one every week or anything like that.
Or if you did, you got really lucky. Like really lucky.
Crichton, we don't have, question is, are there any plans to place hard restrictions on players abusing instance PvP strictly to buy amp and ability points, wearing full PvE gear, etc., blah, blah, blah. So, yes and no. So, no, we aren't going to put any hard restrictions to say, like, you must be in full PvP gear. We're also trying to avoid it in PvE side as well. We don't want to say you can't queue for this instance because your eye level's not high enough, because there might be situations where someone in an established guild rolled an alt, and then as soon as they hit 50, their guild is just like, all right, let's do this. Like we don't care what gear you're in, we'll get you through here and get the loot and stuff like that. And we want to do the same for PvP, but we do want to improve the matchmaking so that I'm not going to give out the exact percent drop rate.
The percent drop chance is, it's
More than 0, less than 100.
Smaller than the population of China. That's about where it is, somewhere in that range.
So when you queue up for PvP, what we want to do is improve the matchmaking so that if people have a very low personal rating, as in they're only doing it in PvE gear and they're just losing matches, then they eventually end up just getting queued against each other. And then the players who are doing PvP all the time and winning games and stuff like that end up getting queued against each other. So that's actually something we're going to be looking to improve. One of the things we did already add in one of the most recent patches is the ability, so when you go to the content finder, it has a suggested eye level for each instance. And it says like, oh, your eye level is at, above, or below this, so that there's at least a little bit of a warning for players to kind of say like, oh, just this kind of maybe not the place you want to queue for yet, or something like that.
Yeah.
Or if you do, it is going to be very challenging. So, on the PvP side for the matchmaking and stuff, a lot of the stuff we're looking at is sort of the idea of kind of saying like, if you are queuing in.
Sorry, I saw the shadow went over and I was like, I gotta pop. I'm sorry, like I got excited. Anyway, go back.
So with PvP, you have your personal rating I was talking about earlier. When you queue for a match, it says like, oh hey, like this is how much. It takes my personal rating and says like, oh, I should find people that are the same rating as me. So if my personal rating is say like 1,000, then when I queue, it looks for other people that are around 1,000 rating. And then over time, it expands the range at which it looks both up and down. And so eventually, even if I'm 1,000 rating, if everyone else is only like 0 rating, they've never queued for PvP before, eventually it will find a match and put us all in the same group. And so one of the things we're looking at doing is saying, if I queue in a group, so if me and Steven and everyone else on the class team and everyone else on the multiplayer team all make a raid and queue together, it artificially scales our rating so that
our average rating
is higher.
So
if we were all 1,000, then it would say, oh, well, instead of queuing you as though you're 1,000, we're going to queue you as though you're all 2,000 or 2,500. Like the exact number.
Numbers have not been determined. Yes.
Yeah, and so like that's going to be something that it pushes the two groups farther apart, so that those groups could still potentially get queued against each other, but it will take longer and will be much more likely that
you will find a
pre-made group gets queued against another pre-made group.
Because I think you know, a lot of people want to have that separate queue, and splitting up players is probably not what we want to do.
Yes, and so
we want the queues to be fast. We want to be the maximum amount of people in the queue.
Yeah, we definitely want to make sure that any changes we make still keep the queues and stuff for things healthy. Because like for Battlegrounds and stuff like that, they're pretty strong right now. A lot of times when you queue up for Battlegrounds, you can get a queue really fast. Let's see. Any other questions?
What's that? I'm gonna show off the mounts again.
Okay. So these mounts he's gonna show off. This is actually, we have some limited time only mounts that are available just this weekend. These offers end on November 17th, which is next Tuesday. This is the
Equivar floral.
Yep. This is the Equivar, the floral Equivar.
Oh, look at that. I've got that military look on my Chua. It doesn't really fit. It's like
the hot pink.
I'm gonna get you.
Look. Yeah.
I'm gonna get you on this cute mount. Let's go with the strain. Woo! And there I am. Now you don't know I'm there. Look at those. It's like tail tentacles. I bet you guys didn't think you'd look at a Snarflink's ass today. Yeah, you got it. Got the chompy mouth. You got the grotesque eyeballs on the top. Woo!
Oh, Sloth says what? You mentioned that you're losing rating right now when you're doing the 3v3s. We are aware that it's a bug, and that is actually something we'll be fixing. The way it will work once we get that bug fixed is that from 0 to 800 rating, your rating will not go down even if you lose a match. That way, over time, you can build your way all the way up to 800, and then after 800, you'll go up and down as Elo dictates, based on the difference between you and the team you're playing. So if someone's way higher than you and you lose, you'll only go down a little bit. If you're way higher than another team and you lose, then you'll go down a lot. So we are aware that it's a bug. We'll get it fixed because that was not how we intended it to work. So the last thing with the matchmaking stuff is that also, like, right now some of the changes we made, like combining battlegrounds, removing practice and rated, now there's just battlegrounds, pushing a lot of the competitive arena stuff directly to 3v3 and not doing practice arenas. That was intentional. I know a few people have asked if they could get rewards for that stuff. Is we do want to move towards allowing players to queue for multiple things at once. This is definitely on our wish list. We don't have an ETA, but that is something we're working on adding in. That way you can queue for arenas, but then still keep doing battlegrounds, or queue for war plots and then do battlegrounds until the war plot is ready. And stuff like that. And that should hopefully help a lot of the queues be a lot more healthy, because right now some of the issues players run into is they don't want to queue for a war plot because it might take a really long time for it to happen, and while that's going on, they can't do the other content while they wait.
By the way, Brett, do you see the sparkles? There's like little sparkles. Like you'll see it there, right there on your sparkles. Sparkles with little flowers coming off.
I'm beginning to doubt your commitment to sparkle motion.
Dude, sparkles are awesome. Let's do this. Sparkle! Look at me sparkle. Oh, there's not people over there. Let's sparkle more around some people. Anyway, I'm like a child. I apologize.
It's a class question. Are you planning on making skills have different effects depending on PvE versus PvP?
Not right now, no. It would be very difficult to do, and I'm not sure it's a path or a rabbit hole that we want to go down right now. Can never rule it out in the future. I think right now it's just it would be difficult and unwieldy within our system to do that anyway, even if we wanted to. Any other questions?
We've gotten through most of them. Any other? Are there any plans to change something in regards to healing debuffs while in arenas?
Not at the moment. I'm sorry, I had to think, because we have the 2v2, we have the healing debuff that is naturally there, then we have healing debuffs on classes that are used in 3v3s. Not at the moment, but we're always monitoring how healing is performing within the arenas. And we're also trying to strive for a balance of strength of heal debuff versus uptime. And, you know, while one may be stronger than the other, we're trying to balance those things out as we go.
Okay. Let's see, a few other questions.
Got those questions. Let's go.
How do you think the Datascape encounters are post free-to-play changes? I think most of them are in a pretty good place. Balance-wise, I think they're pretty strong. There's a few bugs we've been fixing and stuff like that that's come up, but I don't think anything has really seemed super out of place. The ones that were a little bit overtuned, Water, Fire, Elemental Pair, and then System Daemons are ones that jumped to mind. We adjusted those pretty quickly. When we raised all of the players' health pools, because right now players that are level 50 with good gear have 45 to 55k health, whereas previously they were in the 25 to 30k range. we also did sort of a mass update to all of our rating counters to kind of say, now these do more damage too, just to kind of offset that and keep the balance about where we expected. And a few of them ended up where they were doing a little bit more damage than we intended.
Yeah.
And so I think most of them are in a pretty good place right now. They're probably easier now than they were at launch and that's kind of the expected nature that we've talked about of over time, player power goes up. Like class changes make them stronger, they get better gear, there's like more options available.
Better gear, I mean, we added class sets, we added
the
rune
new
stuff.
class rune sets are really strong.
And amazingly enough, players have found some great synergy between some of them that we didn't even think of when coming up with them. So like there are things that people have pointed out, these are really strong, and that has increased our overall DPS.
Yep. And so like over time, these instances, both Jank Archives and Day Escape, are going to continue to become easier, even though on the dev side, we're not nerfing them or anything like that. It's just players become more powerful over time. And that was 100% expected and kind of where we expect that stuff to go. And then they'll become easier, and then we'll release some new content that'll be hard, then that'll become easier, and just kind of that sort of up and down scale. I think the encounters are mostly in a pretty good place based on where they were. Unsurprisingly, we have no plans, the question came up again, to make 10-man raid content. If we created something like, so right now, we're really happy with where the raid sizes are as far as it being consistent, so that all of the guilds know if they do raids, it takes 20 people. That way it's like there's never more, there's never less. It's like, here's a good consistent size. If we ended up doing something else, it would be more likely to be closer to a flex system rather than a new raid size. It would be something that's
What is a flex system, Brett?
Just like random numbers of people that can come in and do the content, and the content kind of scales a little bit to match the number of people that are there. That would be a much more likely thing than adding another raid size. I think no matter what number you pick, whether it's 10 or 25 or 40 or 72 or whatever number, we're very, very unlikely to ever add an additional raid size because that causes a bunch of weirdness in guild management, which is already a lot of work for players. And so we like the consistency of it being 20. If something like that changed in the future, it'd be much more likely to support something that was more like the flex style things that some other games use. So
nice. Although thinking about a 72-man raid reminds me of the good old days.
The very, very old days.
Yeah, the very old days.
No instances and all of that stuff.
It's easy to organize those. We should do it. 72-man. We called it right here. 72-man raids coming.
Yep. Dorian Tail is asking, what about casual content? One of the reasons you're seeing a lot of the questions aiming a lot more at like competitive PvP and raids and stuff like that is because of the devs you have on the stream today. That's the content we really work on. However, that said, we put out a bunch of casual content, and we will continue to put out a bunch of casual content. The Omnicore 1 was the first WildStar instance that really moved forward the story of like Drusair and Caretaker. There's going to be a bunch more of those. Like, if you want to get spoilers from Pappy, get him drunk, get him talking about the story of the game, and just go.
That's true.
Go, yeah,
he will go. He will just not stop.
They're really excited about that. There's a few of those that are in development. They'll be coming out in future updates. No specific ETAs for them, but those things are intended for, like, 1 to 5 players, very casual, kind of on the expeditions. We'll have additional expeditions. Like, there's a bunch of stuff coming that's not just like stuff for raiders and super competitive PvPers. That was just kind of what we were talking about today.
But on the flip side, for us, we've been trying to, as they bring in this content and do things, like all my reward system people have been trying to bring in gear that doesn't necessarily trounce over your content, your multiplayer content, but allow for some kind of progression within the other casual content that we're bringing in, so people can grow with content.
And so basically that just means that over time, as you do the different kinds of content, it will reward slightly better gear than what came before. So, like, if there's a new overland zone, it might give better loot than what than you get from Grim Vault or something like that. So, nope. Sorry, Durokai. No new raid content updates. There is no ETA. It is not coming soon. It's still a long way out. Why don't you make unique costumes for casual content? Costumes is an easy way to make people do things. There are many, many, many costumes in the unique that are unique to the casual content. Kadium is in the channel. You should poke her about discoveries. There are those in basically every zone, and there are a bunch of costumes and stuff from that. The world bosses, which you can do effectively solo, just whenever they happen, join the groups that are doing them and go farm up the particles and kill them. They have some unique costumes that are attached to them. All of the expeditions have some unique appearances. Like, there's a bunch of stuff out there.
It's mixed within the content. What else do we have?
Genesis X, for further PvE content, will the difficulty be harder than the current Datascape difficulty? Yes and no. So one of the things we did with the last raid augmenters was that we have basically 2 modes when you do the encounter. There's both normal and hard, and a way to trigger it. That is something that we are likely to continue doing in the future. That way, with that encounter, we can kind of like point it in 2 directions and make it relevant for more people. So that if someone, like for augmenters, the normal mode, when you get to it with Omna level gear, you can kill it. And it has some very good runes and some good gear that it drops. And then when you kill it on hard mode, it is extremely difficult, but also offers some of the best rune sets in the game and some really great gear and stuff that Steven's team made. And so I don't know if necessarily any future raid content is going to be like more difficult than Datascape, but a future raid tier would be higher tier. So like if Datascape's 120 now, the next raid tier might be like 140 or something like that. But the encounters themselves, complexity level, I like about where Datascape ended up. There's a lot going on, there's a lot to learn, but one of the things that we've begun moving away from is like we don't want to have fights that are as long as like Abatis, which is like 15 to 20 minutes. That takes a really long time. We'll probably be moving to try and keep the fights a little bit shorter than that, and you know, stuff like that.
I had something to say and then I forgot it. You're just way too long-winded.
I talk too much, I know. All right, well, it's about
That's
noon.
fine.
So if there are any more questions,
We're gonna take a couple last questions maybe
okay.
before we buzz off.
Moonfang boss. Will at one point we be able to dye our mounts? I had no idea.
I actually don't know. Yeah,
Yeah. So it's
I'm the helpful one.
It's definitely unlikely to happen in the short term. Changing any asset to be dyeable is actually very expensive for art. So that would have to be something that would be a pretty big initiative. It would take them a long time to kind of convert all those things over. But I'm not going to say that's a never. Is there any thought as to how the quantum cascade button press / hold works for medics? He thinks he's going to get carpal tunnel.
I've not heard that, but I can bring it up to Trainogram and talk to him about it because you know, fatigue is, especially in our game with the way the combat is, fatigue is an important thing that we try to balance against when doing things, and we can take a look at that and see how bad it has become. I don't like. Fatigue doesn't really bother me. I play Boltcaster. I'm just hitting shit all the time.
Yeah.
I keep cussing. Why did you tell me I could cuss? You didn't tell me that. You're different. You're Micah. Never mind.
There's a bunch of questions about balance. Balance, it's kind of a generic answer, is always ongoing. We'll always be looking stuff like the rune sets.
We always. I mean, like, we do our own parses constantly. My guys are all on the forums and Reddit. We have access to WildStar logs as far as like raid parses. We look at PvP. Like, they're constantly just trying to make sure that there's nothing that's broken. And it always helps when people actually come to us and be like, hey, this seems a little strong. it makes it easier for us to find those things when they happen too.
So one of the questions was about we don't have any ETA on. We would like to do a new battleground at some point. We would like to do the halls changes to improve that map. We don't have any specific ETA. Stuff like that we can't really announce until both the work is done and it's in a build that has a specific launch date and stuff like that. So anything like that, that's why a lot of times we're super vague on ETAs, is we don't want to say like, hey, like everyone's going to get a cell phone next week. And then it's like, oh, that work's not done. And then next week you don't get a cell phone. And then it just comes across negatively. So that's why we really try to be like, I know it can be frustrating, but it's like pretty vague on the specific launch dates and stuff. But we are working on a lot of that stuff and are very excited to talk about the many things that are coming up here very soon. So open up the store once more. I'll recap one more time real fast before we log off.
Content fighter.
We have some items here. Flask of Riches. There's a double prestige event going on all weekend.
Why didn't you tell me to buy them? I went over it and
Yeah, you should have bought it.
I should have bought it. Yeah.
PvP.
The Equivar floral.
We have the floral Equivar. It is a new unique mount.
Wait, what did you say?
Equivar.
I said Equivar floral, and then you were like floral Equivar. What?
Because that sounds nicer.
Does it? Does it? Paul, what sounds nicer?
And then we also have the Strain Snarflinks.
Strain Snarflinks.
The Snarflinks
Strain. There you go.
Those three items, along with the PvP Double Prestige Weekend, will be available all weekend. That event runs until 11/17, which is next Tuesday.
So before you go to bed Monday night, sorry, Micah made sure, I know this, before you go to bed Monday night, you get those things.
Yeah, get them. They're limited times. They will go away.
And they are cool as heck.
Yes.
I didn't cuss. Yeah!
Got there. And then the last one on that list is the transfer tokens, because we just re-enabled the server transfers this morning. This is between realm types. So Warhound to Entity or Lumini to Jabbit or vice versa. Going between the -1 and the -2 realms are still free. So going from Entity 1 to Entity 2, that remains unchanged. But now you can actually transfer once again between the PvP and the PvE servers. For players that wish to do that. I know that's been requested by several people, so we're excited to be able to turn that back on. So thank you all for joining us this morning. Thank you for those of you who queued up against Steven.
And thank you for talking the entire time.
You know, that's how it goes.
That's why I asked you to come. I was like,
Yeah.
I don't really want to talk. Brett, you like talking?
Brett's got this. All right, I will see you in game this weekend. Steven and I will both see you in game this weekend.
Yeah.
Have fun.
I'll be playing Battlegrounds. Just FYI, I'll be in Battlegrounds.
Trying to actually get your runes. All right, we'll see you guys around.